Welcome to a Smilezone.com exclusive. Ron MacLean here in Oakville, Ontario, and I'm flipping over to Brampton, Ontario, where leading citizen and international recording superstar and Smilezone ambassador Alessia Cara joins me. Hey, Alessia, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Really thrilled that you would do this for us again. You've been such a great brand ambassador. So, Smile Zone, we often sit around and talk about how to explain Smile Zones. We never have to discuss the name. It's a beautiful name, and it kind of reminds me of a lot of the things that you stand for. So, when I say Smile Zone, what comes to mind?
What comes to mind for me is just, a safe, happy environment for kids everywhere. I think I also think of, my experience in hospital as a child and at Sick Kids Hospital where, everything was colorful and bright. And my experience, even though it was, not necessarily a happy one, I just have these great memories of being at, a place like that because the environment around me was so welcoming and warm and fun. And I get that image every time I think of Smile Zone too. I think it's great work that you guys are doing for kids everywhere.
Yeah, maybe share a little bit for the listener slash viewer your story.
Yeah, so I was at a patient at Sick Kids Hospital. My brother was as well for different reasons. I was there for a really complicated thing that I had. It was like I don't even know exactly what it was. I have like a immune system that's very different than a lot of other kids, and so I had to remove like my saliva glands super young, and I was like back and forth between surgeries, and I spent a lot of time there just figuring out what was wrong with me, and they really helped me out, and I just spent a lot of time there. So I, even though like I they were so great that I didn't even realize that anything bad was happening to me. I just remembered, the nurses and the environment, and it was always so welcoming and bright.
It's a place of healing and hope. And so when I saw you at Erin Oak Kids Center,
Mhm.
you were wearing your sweat top, be nice, and
Yeah.
it was just such an energy around that. They transformed. Why don't you explain what a smile zone is? That's a good place to start.
Yeah. So a smile zone is a really wonderful environment that is created for kids that are ill or in hospitals so that they can have better experiences there and they can feel comfortable where they are. And I think it's really great. Again, being a kid who was in a hospital for a lot of her childhood, and my brother was in hospitals. I think it's super important that these kids are able to have great memories and just feel safe. And I think the people who work there are incredible, and the environments that they create are incredible. There's different rooms that are like themed in different ways. There's like music rooms and all of that, and I think it's really fun. And it also helps kids, develop their interests in different things. Because some rooms are themed for different worlds, like I said, music or colors or art and things like that. So I think it's great, and I'm really happy to be supporting it because I think it's really essential for these kids who are going through a lot.
Alessia, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your Grammy because for me, I don't know if you know, but my first decade I was a disc jockey, and the joy I got in 1979 when Anne Murray won. Anne Murray won Best Female Vocalist. So you're the first ever to win Best New Artist at the Grammys, first Canadian. And
Yeah.
she won for Canada over Donna Summer and Barbara Streisand. These are names from the past, but Barbara Streisand, Carly Simon, Olivia Newton-John, you probably know them. But yeah,
Of
it
course I
was
do.
huge win, right? And I felt such a, pride in being a Canadian, such pride in Anne's performance. And that's how we all felt when you did it. And I would love, you to share what it was like to win that Grammy and to feel like you were Brampton, Canada. What was the feeling?
Yeah, it was amazing, and I didn't even know that fact about being the first Canadian, until after the fact. So it was incredible. It was one of those things. Again, just I've always dreamt of winning a Grammy. I used to pretend that I had won one as a child, like I said earlier, and so there was a period of like where I had to adjust to the fact that it was real, and even now I have it, in my parents' house, and I stare at it sometimes, and it's like it just doesn't feel real. It's just one of those things that feels impossible to process. But I definitely take Canada with me everywhere I go. I've traveled the world, and I'll always be Canadian. I'll always represent Brampton specifically. So it was really awesome, and I felt like my hometown was really proud of me, and I'm glad to represent us.
How have you dealt with COVID-19, the pandemic, the pause?
Man, it's been super tough, I must say. I think, I've been someone who struggled with her mental health for, a lot of my life. And I think going from a lifestyle that is 100% go, go, go to the complete opposite has been challenging, admittedly, if I'm being very honest. So it's been a journey. It's been a lot of healing, a lot of discovery. I've been in therapy, experimenting with different healing techniques to try to help me get through. But I'm also keeping in mind that I am super lucky and my family's very healthy. My job is safe and good. I know that it'll still be there when I come back. So I am, super fortunate in many ways. But I think it does take a toll, regardless, on all of our mental health. So it's very important to talk about it because I think we're all very affected and to some degree are going to come out of this event very changed, hopefully for the better. But yeah.
And I think with your music, you've done a great job always of almost personifying feelings. You give them an identity, whether it's scars or,
Mhm.
So what have you learned? What have you decided to try to, and others might gain from listening to some of that advice? What would you suggest?
Well, I mean, every brain is different, everybody is different, so it's about finding what works for you. But I think, creating spaces where you're really practicing self care, whatever that means, I think is super important. I think it's easy to sometimes get in a cycle where you're, I guess, neglecting yourself and neglecting your needs, and we have to remember that we're, in this body, like this is our vessel, this is what we have to take care of the most, and it can be challenging when you're left with your thoughts for a long period of time. But I would say just finding little things that make you joyful, that make you happy, even if it's something small. I like do like skincare, I like run on the treadmill, take my dog for a walk. I think it's about little steps that eventually, in the grand scheme of things, really make a huge difference. But I think it's about bunch of little things.
Isn't it incredible how the body it will start to grow skinny? It will start to have all kinds of side effects when you realize your perfectionism or your expectation or whatever it is that's getting at you
A hundred
starts to
percent.
take
I
hold.
always, yeah. I mean, my therapist actually, she's the one who told me this, and I always keep this in mind. It's like if you neglect your mind for long enough, your body's gonna get involved, and it's gonna say like it's gonna make you listen.
So that the viewer knows, smilezone.com. That's where you can go. We've had a tricky time because obviously we can't do our hockey tournament. We can't do the golf. So we kind of need folks to come and help us to create that. And when you just spoke there about the body, it quickly, takes on whatever your mind is suffering.
Mhm.
That's where the Smile Zone is such a break for not just the patient, the young child who's healing, but everyone around, whether it's mom and
100.
dad or family, right?
100%, definitely, yeah. I think it's not only an environment for the child, it's the environment for the people that love the child and the people who are taking on a lot of certainly mental struggles as well, having to be involved in that. So I think it's a it definitely puts people at ease all around, which is the best thing you could ask for. And as much as you got to take care of the body, you got to take care of the mind and the heart. So yeah,
For me, an experience kind of like where you transformed Erno Kids Center with the musical theme. And as you just
yeah.
said, you're giving children something that might just, switch and give them a dream. For me, as a young boy, Alessia, I used to listen to radio stations that would come in from Vancouver. I grew up in Red Deer, Alberta.
Mm.
And we would have the signal from CFUN, CKLG, the rock stations, and I would listen really carefully. And I was a young boy, at night, and I try to think about you and what it was like, your love of music, Amy Winehouse, and the fact
Mm.
that you would sing in the bathtub and sing in the closet, and just kind of tell the child listening what it was like for you, sort of imagining.
Yeah, I had a super imaginative mind. Even now, I still do. I think we're always dreaming to some degree, and I don't think we should ever lose that. But definitely, growing up, I just always envisioned my life as if it had already happened, even though it hadn't yet. I was, a student in school in Brampton, Ontario. Never thought I would actually, do this for a living, but I always pretended I was already. And I think for those listening who know anything about manifestation and what that means, I think sometimes you got to just fake it till you make it and pretend you're there. I mean, the mind is so wide and broad. We could do anything with our mind. And I just would pretend to have, interviews already and like make up songs and just I was just in another world all the time, and I think I dreamt it up so much that it happened. But I think also hard work comes into play, of course, too. But I think if you can dream it, it's possible.
You tell a great story on your own website about the Jimmy Fallon X. Why don't you tell
Yes,
that story?
yeah. So that's an example of manifestation. So I used to be in drama club growing up in school. I was in I was like a theater kid, and so we made enough money to we raised enough money to go to New York for like a Broadway theater kid trip. And so we got to go to NBC Studios, which is where they film like SNL and the Jimmy Fallon show. And I was a huge fan of Jimmy Fallon. And so they took us to the set where where he filmed the show. And there was like I saw the little X on the ground where he stands to do his monologue. And I remember, I don't even think we were allowed to go there, but I just like snuck over and I stood on the X. And I said out loud, I was like, I'm gonna be here one day. Like I feel it. I'm gonna be here one day on the show. And then the tour guide was like, all right, like sure, and kind of saw us off to the next spot. And just a few years later, I believe I was in 11th grade, so it would have been like 4 years later. I was there, and I was there as a guest, and he took me on to the X because I told him the story, and he said, "You made it," and it was like the most full circle moment of my whole life, and I just remember feeling like so emotional about that because a part of me didn't even believe that that would happen. I just said it, and it's crazy how life works and the places that you can go. So I'm very very fortunate, and that was a really cool moment.
I'll come to the Grammys in a second, but I want to show you a picture of myself as a young 11-year-old. I'm wearing green pajamas, and in behind me is an album. You can see it's the Hockey Night in Canada double album, History of the Show. And here's the actual record, 2 vinyl discs. I was given that as an 11-year-old. And I don't know that I thought I would ever be on Hockey Night in Canada, but it is, again, a little manifestation. Maybe my parents helping to nudge me in that direction. I think of you and your mom and how strong a female lead she was. What a time we've been through, right? I mean, I went through this pandemic with all this time to dwell or think, but I'm
Yeah.
60. You've gone in the prime of your life when we've gone from Truth and Reconciliation, Me Too, which was a great movement of empowerment, to
Ooh.
Black Lives Matter.
Mhm.
Wow, right?
Yeah.
So how have you absorbed all these changes and paradigm shifts, and as an artist, maybe tried to think about what to do with them?
hmm Yeah, I mean, it's been challenging for sure, but I think it sparked, like this like light in a sense, and I think it's shown me a lot about my place in the world. I think we've all been super introspective, and we've had to deal with ourselves mentally and emotionally as one person, but also recognizing our place in the greater scheme of things. And I think this whole thing that's happened to all of us, for the first time, I was thinking this the other day, like this is probably the first thing in ever that we've all experienced at the exact same time, like all of us, not just a country, like the entire world. And you really realize like we're all part of something way bigger, and everything we do is a ripple effect. Everything we do has an effect. And it's kind of showed me I've kind of rediscovered my purpose as an artist and as a person in this world and what I can do. Because oftentimes we think, well, I'm just one person, like it's not, what am I going to do? But it really just, if a bunch of one person everywhere, kind of like does their part, we can really really make a true difference. And yeah, it's like we're part of a larger machine, and all of our parts are important. And I have been trying to write a lot about it and reflect, on my own mental health, for hopefully for the greater good, but also for the larger events that have been going on, and what I can say about that. And I think talking about things is extremely important, and taking the time to learn. I don't know if one thing could have happened without the other. I don't know if we could have learned this much and made this much progress if we weren't all at a standstill, and to a certain degree, because we've all been forced to watch and see and understand what's been going on, and what we in some areas have been trying to hide for a long time. A lot of issues like Black Lives Matter, and all these communities that have been mistreated for years. We wouldn't have necessarily had the time to learn about it if we weren't, all kind of at a standstill, forced to reflect. So I think while it can be uncomfortable sometimes, it's important to really learn take it in and then see how we're going to use what we've learned to, push for the greater good. Because we're all, like I said, parts of um, a larger organism, if that makes sense. So
Totally makes sense. And I think what's fueled you and kept you strong uh, is that joy of giving that your music provides. Like Help was a great example, such a simple concept in a way, but feeling like the party wasn't maybe in your best interests.
yeah.
Right. And now I find, I don't know how you feel, but like if in a grocery store or the sidewalk, someone's coming the other way, it's, oh my gosh, and I would never crave aloneness, but I'm afraid, right? So I don't know if you have any feelings that way, but it's like suddenly that we're in this big party and we can't be because of a pandemic, which just seems counterintuitive to me.
100%. Yeah, it's so strange. I'm curious to see how we're all going to come out of this and what we, because we've all, I think humans are extremely adaptable, and I think now it's oddly become like, while we're still like eager, I think it's oddly become our norm too. So I'm curious to see how we're gonna be when it's all over. Like I think it's gonna take us all a minute to get back into the groove. But yeah, definitely. I think we all right now have places that we would rather be physically, mentally, emotionally. And it's hard. It's hard because we're like looking through like the window of life, and you don't really know what you have until it's gone, I think.
Again, for those who are enjoying this, Alessia and I are speaking on behalf of Smilezone. Smilezone.com is where you can learn more about these places we put in hospitals and in healthcare facilities for children who are healing, rehabbing, going through something. And it's an opportunity with sensory activities, with beautiful paint jobs, with images like Alessia's on the wall to just brighten days for everybody concerned. So please invite you to be a part of it. We've got like 296 now Smile Zones around the country, and we are, I think, at 200 plus thousand children who've experienced a Smile Zone. So because you were in hospital as a youngster and your brother was, and because you've had these moments, you're now in a position to speak to young children. What do you tell them? What do you do to inspire, to give them balance, hope, etc.?
Yeah. Well, I think if there's anything we've learned, especially this year, is that everything is temporary. Yes, a lot of good things, but definitely a lot of bad things. And um, yeah, I think if there's any kid out there that's in a time where they, feel a little down or they're going through something, it's super important to remember that time is extremely healing. And as we grow more into ourselves. And I don't know, I think just it gets better. Whatever it is that you're going through, especially mentally. I know as a kid, like I had a lot of struggles, like I said, with my mental health, and I didn't really have a lot of friends growing up, and there were a lot of things that I just thought were I was going to be stuck in forever. And it really, really does get better. And there'd be so much that I would say to my younger self, but certainly things that I would say to any young kid listening. And I hope that this is helpful, but it really does get better. And just keep dreaming. And if I can be a testament to that, there are things that are possible beyond what we can even dream. And even though you think that you're just one person, you can really do so much and change people's lives. And yeah, just look for little joys. And yeah, it really does get better. And we're always constantly learning and growing, but I think the older we get, the more we know that. So yeah, I don't know if that was helpful at all, but
It is, and that's, I'm, as I said, a lot older, and I just learned that you stay on the track and it will change. I heard a great line from a coach who was killed in the Humboldt Bronco bus tragedy, Darcy Hogan. That whole team was full of leaders, but he had a line: "Take care of the seconds, and the minutes will take care of themselves." So musically, everybody's keen to hear. We're hopefully making headway here. What's next for you in terms of recording and in terms of performance?
well, I have managed to write an album this period of time in the last year. So I am working on that right now, getting it done. I'm really excited about it. I didn't think I was going to be creative at all, and for the first chunk of time, I wasn't. But I don't know, something sparked in me, and I just ended up writing a record, and I'm very very happy with it. And that's basically been the focus. I'm just ready to get it out and hopefully provide some sort of escapism at the very least to anybody listening or to anyone who's a fan of my stuff. I think we all just need that right now. So hopefully I could be a small part in providing that for people. So yeah.
Is it a theme record? Is there a theme to it?
I mean, I guess in a sense, it's definitely a lot about. I talk a lot about self discovery, a lot about this period of time that I've gone through, but then also in the grand scheme that we've all gone through. It's basically a capsule of the last year for me and for all of us. I hope. I think our experiences are more shared than we think than they are. Sorry, and yeah, again, like I said earlier, we're all part of a way larger organism, and every feeling has been felt before, every experience has been experienced before, and to some degree, and I think not as foreign as we think it is to feel certain ways. So it's just kind of a capsule of what I've dealt with and what we've all dealt with.
I'd like to know about your creation stage, and then I'll give you a break here. But this is
Yeah.
Rebecca Solnit's recent book, "Recollections of My Non-Existence." Great book on feminicity, but that's her desk. And then Patti Smith was a real rock and roller and poet. That's her desk. Patti wrote a book called "Just Kids," really good. Do you have a desk that you feel oozes ideas?
That's a good question. Well, I have two now because I'm currently in my parents' house. This is where I grew up. So this is the childhood version of my desk. And then I have my work desk at my apartment. But I'll show you, this is really messy, but I'll show you right now. It's my childhood desk, which has way too many things on it. It's right here. So I have all my old jewelry as a kid, all the stuff I used to wear. I don't know why I have Mickey Mouse ears, I think from Disneyland. I have this jar of like good things. I used to write good things down like as a kid and that like that have happened throughout the day. And then I would write them down and put them in the jar. And then at the end of the year, I would go through all the good things that happened that year. And weirdly, I think as I got older, I stopped doing it. But honestly, I think I should start doing it again. I think kids have a wisdom that adults kind of lose sometimes. And I wish that I would have kept up with that.
Yeah, maybe we're naive when we're young, but we are so optimistic and we are
Mhm.
so hopeful, and kind of having responsibilities strips that away a bit. But that's
Yeah.
fantastic. That is your smile zone. That right there was your smile zone.
Yeah, that's very sweet. I've never been asked that question, like my desk, but that's a very interesting point because that is where we go, to let out all of our creativity. So that's literally a capsule of mine as a kid. This is my childhood bedroom. So
Well, you're an amazing smile zone ambassador, Alessia, and continued success. And thank you so much for this.
thank you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And yeah, you guys do incredible work, and I'm very, very honored to be an ambassador to speak on it because I think it's again super important, especially now. So thank you for having me.